Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Charlie Wu. I'm the Managing Director for Asian Canadian Special Events Association. We're the organizer for Vancouver TAIWANfest. For today's program, if you do want Mandarin Chinese translation, there's a button at the caption, and you can actually turn that on. The translation is provided by Zoom. It's not very good, but you get the idea. 如果你今天需要听中文的话，我们下面有一个 caption 的那个钮，你按下去，你可以选择听，就是看中文的字幕，可是全程会用英文讲。如果有需要的话，First, I would like to say that ACSA is privileged to live and work on the traditional, unceded territories of Coast Salish peoples of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. We thank them for their generosity for us to live and work in their territory.
Who shaped your cultural identity? Why did the Taiwanese migrate to Southeast Asia in the 16th century? Why are women so powerful only after their death? What would you put in your self-portrait? Who first declared Taiwan's independence?
Okay. This year's TAIWANfest will be taken place at these following venues, including Granville Street from Robson to Dunsmuir, and also at the Squonk Square, which is north of Vancouver Art Gallery, and also inside of Vancouver Art Gallery at the Orpheum and Annex, as well as Vancouver Public Library Central Branch. And we do have a new location at the SFU Seagull Building, and we do have a program after the festival at the Museum of Vancouver. Every year, we have a theme, and then we use this artistic direction to connect all the programming. So back in 2016, TAIWANfest started this dialogue with Asia, and every year we pick a cultural partner to have a dialogue. And this year, we actually be partnering with the Dutch community. And this happened because Taiwan was once colonized by the Dutch back in the 16th century. And it just last year, the Prime Minister of Netherlands actually made an apology to their slave trade in those era. And in Canada, we had the apology to residential school. So it is important for many of us, including newcomers from Asia, to try to understand or to see how those apologies actually might have played a role in our future, and also to understand what the significance of that for our own culture and where we came from. And so we thought this is a great year to be able to do that. And also next year is the 400th anniversary for the Dutch settlement in Taiwan back in 1624. So in Taiwan, there's going to be some events that are happening with this 400th anniversary. So we're just doing it a year early in Vancouver. And we'd like to really appreciate, say a word of appreciation to our partner, and it's our Dutch Cultural Association of BC. They're our programming partner, especially for some of the programs in terms of the community engagement. And I'll be speaking about it later, but there's going to be a Dutch street market happen on the Granville Street, and I'll talk about it a bit more later. And there's also a program that I'd like to make a special announcement put on by the Dutch BC Cultural Association of BC, and it's actually talking about the King's apology to accountability, and TAIWANfest is a proud partner for that program. It's an online program, but you can also you can sign up, and I think there's a fee for to participate. So feel free to join that session if you're interested in this historical moment. And today I'd like to start by talk about a few feature performances, our highlights for this year's program. First, the program will open. We have an opening ceremony, and the performance will be by National Chinese Orchestra Taiwan. And the program is called Splendid Formosa. And Chinese orchestra, obviously the word Chinese means that there's a lot of connections to the Chinese culture, and part of the Taiwanese culture includes Chinese culture. And however, the evolution of Chinese orchestra in Taiwan is something that I think you can see from this particular group. And they will be touring during that time, and they will be performing in Toronto and Vancouver. We have been receiving a lot of interest for this performance, and this is the only program that requires advance reservation. So if you're interested in seeing the show, make sure you book the ticket. This one requires ticket admission, but it's free, and you can also sign up online if you're interested. And I'll give you a peek of the performance with this video. Group you can join them at the Vancouver Art Gallery. They're going to have a session at the Vancouver Art Gallery Courtroom 302. The next program that we have is a DJ program. So we're going to turn the square north of Vancouver Art Gallery. We're going to turn that square into a DJ party for 2 nights. And the reason that we have DJ program, as many of you probably know, the electronic dance music is a very popular form in the Netherlands, and has actually become one of the most world-renowned scene in DJ scenes in the Netherlands. So we thought this is a great opportunity to bring in Taiwanese DJ as well. And to work with us this year, we have DJ Duni Sapor. She's actually indigenous from Amis. And when she's out here, we would like to actually have her interact with the local indigenous DJ, and this time we would have DJ G-Dubs joining her as well. They've been talking to each other for the past couple of weeks, so by the time that Dooney is here, you would have she would have an opportunity already working with DJ G-Dubs. That's the first night on September 2nd, and this is at the square in front of the Art Gallery Plaza. And let's take a quick listen of their music. And I'd also like to say that the both DJ nights are presented by Downtown Vancouver BIA. And the second night, we're happy to have DJ Dooney to come back, but this time she will perform with a fellow Taiwanese Canadian, Witch Nancy. They will perform together on the second night. And feel free to tell your friends and make sure that you come and join them for a couple of fun nights. There's going to be Taiwan beer served at the beer garden, and there's food nearby, and I'll talk about a little bit more about the food in just a few minutes. And so it's going to be a fun night, and it's outdoor, no tickets required. And then we would have also Harmonia String Ensemble joining us again. They've been our partner for the past few years, but they will be doing our closing performance on Monday night, and they will be performing a repertoire with a theme that close to the festival, which is called Voyage Across the Pacific. And I have to say that we've been having a lot of fun working with Harmonia String Ensemble, especially Nick Orcark, the conductor. They've been working really hard to help us to create a programming lineup that's actually fitting to the song. And this is part of our engagement with the community. We don't bring everything from Taiwan, but we want to engage local community to make sure musicians like them that have an opportunity to learn about the festival, learn about the culture, and even explore the connections amongst us. So this is a very important initiative, and their music has been great too. And these are wonderful musicians that we have locally. And then we have a few visual arts I'd like to share with you. As you can see, the theme this year is called Self-Portraits of Formosa. And what we are saying is how Taiwanese would like to express themselves, or how Taiwanese would like to be seen as. But at the same time, the self-portraits can apply to other communities as well, and it can also speak for Canada as a country. How do we want to be seen? Are we diverse, or are we presenting the way that we are? We want people to see Canada is, and so you're gonna be seeing a lot of self-portraits display throughout the site, the Vancouver Granville Street, and then there's going to be activity to do with the self-portraits as well. And this group is actually from Taiwan AIDS Society in Taiwan, and they've been having this self-portrait exhibit as a way to counter the stigma against AIDS in Taiwan. And so the way that they're doing it is using self-portraits to allow individuals to express love in the process. And every self-portrait that we display, there's a story behind it. And so there's a QR code you can scan and read about the artist's story. And this program is called Love the Voice. And we're really excited to have 20 of their more than 360 paintings to be part of our lineup this year. And in addition to them, we also have a group of youngsters, and these are elementary school students who also painted their self-portraits, and it's called About Innocence. And so their story is actually quite remarkable as well. Everyone talks about themselves and how they like to be seen. I actually have a video here to share with you about their stories.
大家好，我是台湾众多原住民族当中的阿美族，原住民名字是嘎定棍。在头发和服装上面会看到许多图腾。人类和大自然共存，所以我们应该要守护这片土地。所以在我的许多画作里面都可以看到花花草草和蝴蝶的存在。
我很喜欢狗狗，所以我在我画的左上角画了一只狗。我也很喜欢吃草莓大福，所以我也画了一个 Q 版的草莓大福。
我把我自己画成了一只狼，我在图画中放入了很多星星和月亮。我用我自己的名字设计出了一个符号，它就藏在我的衬衫中，大家可以一起来找找看哦。
And then we have a group of artists in Toronto and Vancouver, and they will be sharing with us their own self-portraits. And there are Alicia Chen from Toronto, James Lee from Toronto, and Liang Wang from Vancouver. And but all three of them are Taiwanese Canadian. And then we're also happy to have Tong Zhou with us, and he is actually Chinese Canadian from Toronto. And Tong had lived in Netherlands when he first left China. So there's all four of them, and these are some of the works that you'll be seeing at the festival. And I believe that Liang will be doing some live painting at the festival as well. And in order to kind of give people a bit of depth and insights to Taiwanese history, Taiwanese stories, some of the things that people might not have heard of, and we thought we'd create a series of talks to give people that depth that people want. And I understand that this is not something that everyone is interested, but I know I trust that Vancouver has an audience that are very interested in learning more about the world, and this is our way of sharing these stories. To start, as many of you probably know, the National Palace Museum in Taiwan is one of the most famous museums in the world, and it's famous because of the collection that Chiang Kai-shek brought over when he came to Taiwan from China. So a lot of treasures, a lot of collections are from China, and for a museum like that, how does it evolve with the Taiwanese society? How does it evolve with the Taiwanese culture? It becomes very interesting perspective to share, and we are happy to have the former director of National Palace Museum in Taipei, Lin Zhenyi, to come and share his stories and how he had done his job in terms of transforming the museum into something that Taiwan can actually embrace, something of the past. And it is also important to understand the concept of a museum has evolved as well. That our team visited Rice Museum in Netherlands, and it was quite interesting that we are seeing the collection inside of the museum. Some of the collections inside the museums start to have different voices represented in the artwork. So it's no longer just one perspective, it's multiple voices. And it's something that I think it's happening in Vancouver and in Canada as well. That what do we want? Whose voices are we representing in these museums? So these are very interesting perspectives that I thought this talk would actually help us to get an understanding of where Taiwan is in terms of how the museum, and especially the one like the National Palace Museum, is about. And then we have an important conversations on craft, Taiwanese craft. And as you probably know, Taiwan has become a very diverse society, and just like Canada. And so the things that we are used to seeing in terms of art and crafts probably take on different dimensions of cultures as they evolve. And what does that mean for Taiwanese arts and crafts? And this is something that I think we will explore, and there's going to be conversations on this, and the presentation will be at the SFU Seagull building. And we're excited to be in partnership with the National Taiwan Craft and Research and Development Institute on this project. And this is another interesting conversation. Dr. Yu is an expert on Taiwanese folklore studies, and she's going to bring a perspective that's rarely heard, but something that kind of easy to understand if you grew up in Asia or in Taiwan. The women's status in the society has always been challenged, very, very challenging, and Taiwan has a female president today. However, from the folklore side of the story, the ghost, the female ghost, is actually a very interesting angle to look at Taiwanese feminist movement. And I think Dr. Yu is going to talk about that and how these female ghosts might be so influential when they die. After the women, after their death, and they become much more influential. And we're happy to present this program with Vancouver Public Library. Again, TAIWANfest is not just a festival that happens in downtown. We do develop these partnerships with different organizations over the years, and we want to make sure that we're engaging communities outside of just Taiwanese. And again, the history side of it, growing up in Taiwan myself, there's so much I know from schools, and my parents probably are not in the position to tell me a whole lot either. However, opportunity like this to have a dialogue with Netherlands bring up interesting conversations. So when we were exploring the topics, Dr. Chung actually revealed that there was a movement of Taiwanese migrants to Southeast Asia starting in the 16th century and probably at its peak during the Japanese colonial period. And these are the stories that we never heard of when I was growing up. And I'm sure this migration path may be of interest to a lot of people of the Chinese diaspora here in Vancouver, because the same path might have happened in the 19th century era, and to see how perhaps the migration to Vancouver or to Canada, could be related to stories that Taiwanese migrating to Southeast Asia. And Dr. Su-Ming Chung is actually an expert in this area. And I'll bring her up again later in a different conversation, because learning about Taiwan's history is actually becoming a very big movement in Taiwan, because growing up, that's not a kind of history that I have to learn. I had to learn mostly about the Chinese history, but this is an opportunity to get to know more about Taiwan that perhaps we never were told. And DJ Duni Sapor has an interesting story herself, and we couldn't get her to talk about her story during her performance, so we actually organized a talk for her to share her own personal story. And this has to do with her leaving her law career and pursuing DJ, and New Zealand, Australia play a role into this, and she's indigenous, and she's very much trying to revive or trace back her culture and heritage by involving her music career to this. And she's going to be sharing this talk at the Vancouver Art Gallery Courtroom 302. And we'd like to thank Vancouver Art Gallery for providing these facilities as well. Another talk, and I think it's worthwhile, if you actually know about Taiwanese, the Japanese colonial period of Taiwan, back in 2017 when we did this dialogue with Japan, we had exhibited Mr. Chen Po's work at the art gallery. However, a lot of people probably don't know who he is, but he was taught by Japanese painters, but learning Western painting, and his identity is also always a great question as well. And so to learn more about the artists of that time, I think starting from the painting would be a good idea to do that. But this time we actually have two of our colleagues to share their learning of Chen Po, and we have a colleague from Taiwan and also a local colleague, Nina and Becky. They'll be sharing their learnings of Chen Po with you. And this is also at the Vancouver Art Gallery Courtroom 302. And our partner from the Dutch Cultural Association of BC, and this is Erwin Westindi. He's has been very instrumental in terms of helping us to program this year's engagement with the Dutch community. And he'll be speaking about from Amsterdam to Vancouver, Dutch settlers' portraits. For European settlers in Canada, I think they go through a different experience from Asian settlers, and so his perspective is always something that I've been interested in, and so his talk will be how is national memory constructed, and this will be taking place at the Vancouver Art Gallery Courtroom 302 as well. And we have two online presentations, and this will be taking place prior to the festival. So if you really want to learn more about the Taiwanese history, there's a couple of talks that you can do, and it's Taiwan's first encounter of the world, and the second one is the pluralistic impression of perspectives of legendary Koxinga. Koxinga is many people in Taiwan thought he is an important figure in terms of how Taiwanese way of removing foreign influence, and his effort in removing the Dutch VOC was actually quite highly touted in Taiwan still today. But there's actually a different way of looking at him, and this historian, this researcher, Wen Chen Shi, will actually share his research on this particular topic. And going back to exhibitions again, we have this exhibit from Chen Po, and it's going to be at the SFU Seagull building. We'll be showcasing about 10 pieces of his work. But I have to say that it's very, his painting is almost like the Emily cars. It's very, very hard to travel, and in order for us to bring them here, we need to use a bit of technology. So this exhibit is actually a celebration of art, technology, and the environment. And this is how we embrace the future of art, creation, education, collection, and creation. And I couldn't wait to show you this. But it's going to be fun to exhibit this particular this work at the SFU Seagull building. And we have a group of artists that 6 of them coming from the National Taiwan Craft Research and Development Institute, and their work will be exhibited at the SFU Seagull Building again, and it's about migration and art. So what we normally perceive Taiwanese crafts to be, it's probably taken on a different look now because of the diversity that we embrace, and it has the indigenous, has the newcomers. So what is it that could be representative of Taiwanese craft today? And this exhibit perhaps will give you a new perspective and open your eyes. And at the end of the day, they are very, very good artists and produce great work. So it's I don't have a picture of their work to show you yet, but that's something that we can tease you to come in and check out their work during the 3-day festival. And at the square in front of the Art Gallery Plaza, we have Charting Formosa. And again, this is curated by the National Museum of Taiwan History, and it's taking us back to that era and how do Europeans see Taiwan at that time. And that would actually give us a new way of looking at history, and perhaps some of the dilemmas that we're facing today can be answered. And I'd like to point out the picture on the bottom right corner. That's a picture of Mazu. Mazu is a goddess, very important goddess in Taiwanese culture tradition. And this painting was done by a Dutch artist back in the 1600s. And the depiction of Mazu is inside of a Western look church. And that kind of tells you that the artist at the time, has never been to Taiwan, but heard about the stories from perhaps the sailors or people that have been to Asia. And his way of putting this art together shows you that we normally do things based on our own perceptions and based on our own understanding, and it may not actually be close to the truth. And this picture is something that we'll be using for our volunteer t-shirt. So our volunteer t-shirt would all have this painting on, and it's actually a really interesting way of looking at the fun part of looking at history. And we're also excited to actually share stories about Dutch in Canada. And so there's stories. This is about Erwin Westindi, and this group of artworks will be exhibited at the on Granville Street at the 600 block. And throughout the festival, you're going to see a lot of trivia, and the trivia would give you an opportunity to kind of learn new information about Taiwan, about the relationship with Dutch or with the Netherlands. And so this is our fun way of engaging the public. And every year we actually have a program called Taiwan Bookstore, and it's a program that we try to use literature to present a perspective. And this year we have the books here, but we don't have a bookstore set up. But these are some of the books we'll be presenting this year. And of the 4 books, starting from the left, it's a tale of 2 mentions. It's talking about one of the most well-known families in the Japanese colonial period, and it's a family involving tea trading, and the women role in these families played a very important factor, and so this book documents how women role in that society back then. And the second book, Tan Shu Niu, this is about it's the female ghost story, and it's a book related to that conversation, and it's talking about women's role in the society as well. And we're also happy to have Canadian's very own Margaret Edwards' Handmaid's Tale, but this is in Chinese version, so people can come and check that out. And again, that's also a perspective of women role in the society. And the one on the right is it's about Peng Hu, and the author is a great author living in Burnaby today, and she immigrated here and also have her book translated in English, and she's also quarter Dutch. And the story is about her growing up and her stories of immigrating to Canada as well, and some of the stories about her hometown Peng Hu. And I like to point out that Peng Hu is actually has a very interesting story. Back in the promo video that you heard, that who first declared Taiwan's independence. And it's kind of funny that when we were exploring this part of connection with the Netherlands, we learned that the Dutch actually first went to Peng Hu, and was the Ming Dynasty officials told them to stay away from Peng Hu. There's another island next to it that nobody wants to go, and that island is what we know as Taiwan today. So Peng Hu, in relationship to Taiwan, is actually very, very interesting as well. So these are the 4 books that have same thread that connects all 4 of them, which is the woman's role in the society. And then we have a group of nice films to feature, and let me kind of go through one at a time. And we're happy to be in partnership with Vancouver International Film Festival and Vancouver Taiwanese Film Festival and National Film Board to present all these films. Let's start with the one right in the middle, and that's one that I strongly recommend everyone watches. And this one will be available for preview online as well as on site during the festival. The one on site has a Q&A talk with Dr. Chong, that because she's a student of this scholar Tao. And the reason I think this is an important film to feature is the history between Netherlands and Taiwan was basically unearthed by him individually. And he was a librarian, and back then all these historical records and books were buried inside of Taiwan University basement. And I think it was the ruler back then, the government back then did not want anything to be surfaced. So there was an intent to bury this part of the history. But he, being so curious, and so he learned Dutch himself, he learned Spanish himself, and basically single-handedly put that chapter of the history back on the map. And today he's known as one of the most instrumental figure in terms of establishing Taiwanese history. Like I said earlier, growing up in Taiwan, I don't get to learn too much about Taiwanese history because there's the government that probably don't see the necessity in that. So, but nowadays there's a movement of relearning the Taiwanese history, and we had to attribute to his contribution. He passed away, and so this documentary kind of documents his path and how he unearthed Taiwanese history. And there are many of his students today are very important players in terms of establishing Taiwanese history. So that's a documentary that I encourage you, if you're interested in Taiwanese history, this is the film that you gotta watch. And on the top left corner, on Archived, it's a film that we collaborated with National Film Board, and it is a film about things that don't get archived, and because there's a mainstream voice and there's a non-mainstream voice, and the non-mainstream voice don't always make into the collections. And similar to the Dutch history in Taiwan, it wasn't something of importance to the government, so it never get documented. And so there's this filmmaker that takes a look at what's being archived in our society, and this is something that I think for any community living here in Canada, especially those underrepresented, to see how important our own heritage and our own stories are being archived. And on the bottom left corner, Rice Boy Sleeps, it's not a Taiwanese film, but it's a local film from a Korean Canadian filmmaker in Vancouver. We provided Chinese subtitles, by the way, to an archive and Rice Boy Sleeps. And it's important to show this film because it kind of shares the stories about how immigrant family, their challenges and the cross-generational dilemma sometimes. This Korean young boy had to pick a English name in order to be assimilated in the classroom, in order for his teacher to be calling his name without problem. That way of assimilation is something that people are rethinking again. Is that the right thing to do? And I think this film talks that and beyond. How many of our second generation, third generation Asian Canadians, how they know they have an Asian connection, but how do they actually explore that connection, and what makes a holistic person for them in the future. This film, I think, speaks to that identity issue very, very well. It's a good film to watch. And on the right side, top right, White Balls on Walls. This is a Dutch film, and it's actually recommended by our partner, the Dutch Cultural Association of BC. And I believe it speaks about white men in the museum, and what are they thinking about the future of the museum. And I think it's a perspective that we don't necessarily hear all the time, but it's a good way to kind of take into that part of the world. And the one on the right, bottom right corner, it's Island Nation Hoping. And this is about, as many of you know, Taiwan did quite well during COVID. And one of the reasons was, they learned their lessons during the SARS. And this is a TV drama, and there's seven episodes. And so we'll be airing one episode during the festival. And this episode talks about the politics within the SARS period, and what happened in Taiwan. And I guess it gives people a way to understand what lessons did Taiwan learn that made it so successful in dealing with the COVID outbreak. And then we have a series of family activities, and food is a very important thing. And for those of us in Vancouver, we know how popular Japa Dog is. So our team thought that with that inspiration, we should create something for Taiwan. So we created this Thai dog. Okay, and we actually collaborated with a local business, and to see if they can help us develop this Thai dog. And I had personally tasted, and I loved it, and it's actually getting me very excited. I couldn't wait to share with you. So please do come and try them out. And I think that this is gonna be a popular thing in the future. Remember, you first discovered it right here at TAIWANfest. And we're so excited, and this is probably the first Dutch street market in downtown Vancouver on Granville Street. So you don't want to miss this one. And this is actually being put together by our Dutch partner, the Dutch Cultural Association of BC. And there's going to be a DJ station. You're going to have DJ all over the festival this time, and stroop waffles and wooden shoe display. And I don't know how to pronounce that, but you will find out what that is. And a Dutch bike pop-up, bicycle is a huge thing in Netherlands, and and the Tulip Boat pop-up shop and Double Dutch and more. So please do check it out. It's going to be on Granville Street for the duration of the festival. And then, the 6 artists that are visiting us, they're going to have some hands-on workshops that they can share with our audience, and people can really learn the different crafts and, take something home with them. So these are different crafts. We have to look at the schedule, what's available and when that is, but it's going to be throughout the festival. And other activities that we do, there's Formosa puzzle game that kids can play. And we do a lot of self-portrait activity as well. And there's also the DIY with the persimmon die. All of our activities, all our crafts, especially, it teaches us about lessons that our relationship with nature. And I think with the persimmon die, it's something that our other festival, Lunar Fest, started, and it's from a persimmon grower in Taiwan, and how they use the fruit and evolve that fruit from just something that you eat, also something that you wear every day. And so they create this persimmon dye, and kids can come or adults can play with it. You can take something home that's a really nice experiment of things that we can do with nature. And these are activities throughout the festival. On the bottom right corner, this is actually the Burnaby Art Gallery doing their outreach as well. And then we have a series of community performances. And I have to say that we try to engage with our past partners again. This is the partners that had done dialogue with us, Hong Kong, Vietnam, and Japan, and all of that. So first, this is this year's theme, and we're happy to have Diedrich Van Dyke and Sammy Chen. One is Dutch, obviously. The other one is Taiwanese Canadian, and one is cellist, and the other one is multimedia artist, and they'll be doing their performance in front of the Art Gallery Plaza. And last year, we started this program called Walking Melodies, and it helps us to animate the street, and it brings the musicians to the street, so they're interacting with the audience, with a very close distance. And so Tom Su, who's a remarkable Canadian citizen, has done many great things, and he was actually recently being awarded as the Burnaby's Citizen Award. And he works with other artists and other people and engages them and bring them over. He wanted to use this walking melody and to allow these other musicians to come with him, to come to the Vancouver street and perform. And I think one of them is actually a recent refugee to Canada. So that's a way of engaging the community, and I think Tom Su has been superb in doing that with us. And Tom is not just going to perform on the street; he's also going to perform with this Matt Holmstrom artist, and it's a violinist versus a visual artist, and they will be working. Sharing the stage, and I think Matt will be sharing his story, and Tom will be playing music to his ears and to our ears as well. And this is a program that we collaborated with Nikkei Community Center, and back in 2016 we collaborated. 2017 we collaborated with the Japanese community, and so ever since then we always have the Japanese programming at our festival. And this year that we're happy to have Kamui Samurai artists coming. And it's actually quite timely because one of the things that Dutch exported when they colonized Taiwan was deer skin. And a lot of these deerskin was exported to Japan and was actually becoming, they actually became the liner for the shield that a lot of samurais wear. And so Taiwanese deerskin had something to do with the Japanese samurai of that time, and Dutch play a role into that conversation. So I thought it was kind of interesting to have this come together at this time. And this is a must-see. Every year we welcome Vancouver, Okinawa, Taigo to perform at TAIWANfest. They've been a crowd favorite, and so it's been a repeat every year that we have them back. So they will be at the Vancouver Art Gallery as well. And we're also excited to have a Taiwanese dance artist, Jolene Lee, and she'll be performing a program called Luna. It's a short program, so she will spend some time after the show to have a dialogue with our crowd. She came here when she was really young, and so her work has become a way for her to connect with her heritage. And so I keep talking about this all the time, but one of her props is a rice cooker, a datong rice cooker, and it's something that all Taiwanese can resonate quite well. So I couldn't wait to see her, but see her performance. And so if you're interested, this is a program to go. And then we have a local dance studio, Flying Dance Studios, and they're going to be bringing some K-pop, C-pop, and all sorts of exciting, energetic dance to the stage. And TAIWANfest has started this comedy program, with our friend Ed Hill's help a couple of years back. And so, his friends, his comedian friends, has been coming to us and then say, hey, we want to do more TAIWANfest. So we're happy to bring 3 comedians, and they're going to be performing outside in the late afternoon. And the program is called Who's Joking, and it surrounds identities and how some of the conversations that we have when we talk about race. And we also have another program, it's Storytelling from Taiwan, and this is done by our friends in the, I don't have their name on here, but it's English as second language group in Vancouver, and they actually connected with National Tsinghua University and their Malaysia volunteer team. Okay, so this is a program that's going to have a bit of virtual and in-person hybrid event, and it's presented with Auntie's Talk podcast. So if you want to hear some interesting stories, that's where you need to go. And we are also happy to have our Vietnamese friends come back, Hachi Bamboo Music. I work with them, for a long time, and it's really nice to be able to bring them back to this year's program again. And then again, TJ Tobias will actually be coming back, and he's a bit of more of a old-fashioned guy, and so dank house music and cosmic techno. So we'll get an opportunity to learn his craft. And this is a group from Hong Kong. Well, they're here, but the players are from Hong Kong. Past Controls Future, and it's a group called Henwash. And then we have a local Taiwanese indigenous musician, and Kapa Arkia is his name is actually Amis indigenous, and the search of his identity has been interesting as well. So I look forward to hearing his story. His music has evolved, and by the way, including Henwash, and this program is in partnership with J Music Fest, which is another festival that takes place in October, and their aim is to elevate the underrepresented music in BC. And then we have Live to the Fullest and Daniel Lu featuring Caroline Ding. They're a couple, and Daniel has this interesting connection with, I think, his wife Caroline, and they use music to connect their lives, and so we're also looking forward to their performance at the festival too. All right, so all that program, so many different programs, and I didn't mention them all because some of them, there's a lot of more details that can be found. But we do have online program schedule, and this is in PDF version that you can download. But make sure you can use this as a planning guide for now, but make sure you come back and make sure you use the most updated one before the festival. This is our version 2, and you can download it to just get an idea of what the overall festival schedule is like. But things do get changed, so be sure to come back and update the most recent one before the festival. And then we're still looking for volunteers, and like I said, the volunteers get a T-shirt with that very interesting historical picture. And I'd like to give you a sense of who actually helped us to put all this together. These are our organizers, our partners, and our sponsors, and also our media friends. And we couldn't do it without their support, but it's very important that for them to continue their support too, in order for us to provide all these programming for free. Okay, TAIWANfest is a free festival, and we're in downtown, so their support is very important. And that kind of wraps up for today's preview of the festival. I'd like to take this time to see if there's any questions. If you do, feel free to raise your hand if you want, or put into the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer them for you. No questions. Okay, and again, I like to invite every one of you to come down, and please share this information with your friends, and we will have the preview record, and we will have it uploaded. The presentation you just heard, we'll have it uploaded just in case people want to hear more about it, and it will be available online pretty soon. So if there's no other questions, I'd like to thank everyone for getting up early and sharing your Saturday morning with us. Thank you, and we'll see you at the festival. Goodbye.